welcome to my workshop. In the video today, could possibly take two videos, I am going to take you right to the very basics of wiring up a CNC machine, which will include a offline controller. In this case it's an SMC 5-axis controller. You might have seen this on previous videos, and this combines the operating system, which is equivalent to Mark IV, smooth stepper, everything. And of course it replaces a PC computer because it's built in that as well. If you order stepper motors and or power supplies or stepper motor drivers on eBay or other sellers, the chances of you getting any paperwork whatsoever is limited. I always use Stepper Online because it's top quality stuff, and they always send me full documentation. Okay, but I'm aware a lot of you out there have received stepper motors and you have no documentation at all because you've got it from another seller. So I'm going to take you, as I say, right to the very fundamentals and show you a few tips and tricks of how I do it. Now here comes a disclaimer. What you see me do in my videos is the way I do things. You don't have to do what I'm doing. I would also say to you, now this unit, essentially you're dealing with 240 or 110 volt AC power. Now that stuff can kill you if you don't know what you're doing or if you're tinkering with it. Okay, so you've got to be very, very careful. And I would also suggest, if you are home building one of these, all right, or anything like this at all, that you get an electrician to check it over before you use it. Okay? All right. So this is in Australia's case, 240 mains input AC and 24 volt DC. And I think this particular one is, how many amps is it? 14.5 amps output. So it's running 4 of these. It'll actually run NEMA 23s or NEMA 24s, okay, at 24 volt, which gives you pretty good power, you know. So what I'm doing now is I'm starting off from the front end, all right, front end as in power in. And also what I'm doing is I'm showing you on the bench here how to connect up just one single stepper motor using the offline controller and the power supply and the driver, because I'm going to be putting 4 sets of these and wiring them all up in that box. And to film doing each individual one and linking them up, it gets a bit confusing, maybe for you. So I'll just show you one on here. Okay, power in 240 volt is fairly self-explanatory. You have an earth, now that's very, very important. Okay, you must have it earthed. This is a metal case. That's a metal case. Okay? If anything goes wrong, and you have 240 volt live to the body, or you connect it up wrong, you'll have 240 volt live to that, you touch it, and it's highly possible you could electrocute yourself or one of your family members, okay? So be careful. So you got live, neutral, and earth. These two sections here, that's power out. That's DC power out, like your car electrics, okay? Your normal petrol car electrics. I'm not talking about hybrids here. Okay, so that's that unit. Now what we have to do is get, now I always use X computer power leads, okay? Because I have a lot of them around, so I just utilize these, and I, you know, cut it off for the plug, and it's got a very good quality wire in it, and I spline it back, and I will show you how to do that. Spline the wire, separate the leads, and what is known as tinning the cable. Alright? I'll show you what that's all about. You'll need a soldering iron, most definitely, with fine gauge electrical solder. Now this is lead, okay? Lead and tin. Now you've got to be careful using that, alright? Don't, you know, sort of lick your fingers or anything like that. You get lead poisoning. Okay. Now everything that I do when I'm making a build like this, I purposely buy an electrical multi-board that has, you know, its own internal on switch, on off switch, but more importantly has a fusible link. Okay? Now you can buy these from Big W, Kmart, A-Mart, Walmart, every mart. Okay? They're very reasonably priced. I think I paid about $6 or something for this. And yeah, in Australia here, any electrical item has to comply with Australian electrical regulations, okay, which are very tough. In fact, which brings me to another subject. A lot of you out there are asking me, oh, where I got my machine from, and this, that, and the other. My laser and my big CNC router and anything else I've got here. I can't tell you. The simple reason is that none of the machinery that I can tell that is sold out of China complies with Western electrical safety regulations. And if you import a machine, they get very tough on this now, if you import a machine, you can get fined up to $3,500 per offence. So that's why I don't tell you where to go and get a machine. Okay? Okay, so that's the mains power side of it. Now, so obviously that's this is going to be connected into one piece of this board. Second plug on that board is going to be this unit. Now this again is it's a computer power supply, 240 in. Obviously in your region, you know, I recommend using these because, you know, they're very, very high quality. And this is a Huon Packard, you know, sort of extremely high quality, and it has what they call a clean output. All right. In other words, you can run sensitive electronic devices on it without interference, noise, electronic noise we're talking about here. This is clean power. Okay. So this is what I do. So I've got 240 volt in, and this particular one is 12 volt, 3 amps. Okay, which is more than man enough. It's really overkill to supply power into this board. And on the back here it says 12 volt. Okay, positive and negative. Alright, that's those first two connectors there. Alright. Now, I do see on the internet other people that have used these saying, oh, we put 24 volt on ours. Takes it okay? Well, I would advise against that, because if it says 12 volt on it, it means, well, it's meant for 12 volt. Okay? 12 volt DC power supply. The reason I'm giving it 3 amps is because this unit, okay, supplies the 5 volt, alright, operating voltage that these need. Okay, you need to supply a 5 volt supply to these. Alright, they have 2 lots of power supply. They're split in 2 halves. Okay, this half is the information side. That's the side that requires 5 volt. This side is power in, right, from here, 24 volt, and stepper motor coils out. There's 4 leads, so that means there's 2 sets of coils in here. Okay, now the supplier I use, Stepper Online, I know this is a lot of talking without too much action, but this is fundamental stuff that you need to understand if you're a first timer. Obviously it's going to be pretty boring for seasoned vets that have made these before. Okay, Stepper Online supply the paperwork for the stepper motors and the drivers to tell you what colour connects into which terminal on here. But if you haven't got that, I'm going to show you what to do. Now, on here you have B minus, B plus. Okay, I'll get it a bit closer so you can see. Got B minus, B plus, A minus, A plus. Okay? So the A's go together, that's one coil, so positive and negative of one coil. And the B's go together, okay, so that's positive and negative of the B coil. But there are 4 wires here, so how do you know which coil, which pair are connected to a coil? And at this stage it doesn't matter whether it's A or B, because if you swap the A's and B's round, right, the motor will either turn in the right direction or the wrong direction. It's just direction of rotation, okay, if you mix these up. But to find out which 2 leads are connected to one coil, right, all you do is connect, first of all, don't connect anything. You can turn it freely, okay? Connect any 2 colours together, like so. So red and green. Still turns freely. Okay. So I've got a choice of another two here, so we'll go to blue. So it's red and blue. Oh, I can only just turn that with my fingers. And you notice the sound different? Hear it? Again? Okay, that's one coil. So this one has to be another coil. Okay, so that's how you determine, if you haven't got the paperwork, what colours, okay, are connected to a particular coil. Okay, going to Stepper Online. So we've determined that the red and the blue are one coil, and the green and the black are a separate coil. So we can go to the chart and see that blue is B minus, red is B plus, and so on and so forth. Okay, so that's how we're going to connect this up now. Okay, so that's the stepper motor connected up to the driver. Oh, incidentally too, it's been sat on my bench. I would advise just getting this. This was a very cheap. I think it was $12 to $15, something like that. This is a multimeter. Okay, it does DC voltage and AC voltage. I stress again, be very, very careful playing around with AC voltage. DC voltage is quite safe. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is cut our lead now to make a supply for our power supply, 240 volt, with an earth. Okay, so I'm just going to cut a sort of reasonable length off, because I've got to come in from the power board. Power board's going to be set in the top of there somewhere. So then I've got to run it to connect into this, which is going to be connected somewhere up on one of the side walls inside. So we'll give it about 18 inches, something like that would be fine, and snip it through. Just a little thing about wires, right? Now, like I say, I've already explained this. This is 240 volts. This is, again, Hewlett & Packard supplied. Very, very good quality. The best. Now, a lot of people are asking me, what type of cable do they get to supply the stepper motors? Because, you know, I suppose they understand it moves all the time. Automotive. It is different from household wiring. Now this is, I'll open this up, I got this yesterday. Now then, because you've got 4 wires that you have to supply to the stepper motors, what I use is trailer cable. If you go to an auto supply store, they will sell you this particular, this is 5 meters, a 5 meter roll of trailer light cable. Okay? Now, the reason I use automotive grade is because it is different quality. This is covered with a vinyl, very, very hard wearing, it's flexible. And you can do this for 10 years and it won't break, because that's one of the standards that it has, because this is continually in motion, not only on a CNC machine but on your trailer of your vehicle. So it has to pass certain standards, and they are different standards for cabling for your household. Okay, so be very careful of that. And this is 5 core, all right, but you're only going to use 4 of those cables, all right, and they're all different colored cables too. In fact, I'm pretty sure they're the same color as those, but with an extra brown one, I believe. So that's what I use. Trailer cabling. Now then, again, automotive cabling. Now this is the this will be to supply the power to the spindle. Okay, 0 to 100 volts DC. Now in this particular case, what is it? Here we go. 5 meters of 15 amp cable. All right, you'll need it for that. Okay, and again, automotive, because it is covered in a vinyl wrap. And this is, I think this is what, 50 meters? This is 50 meters of 2 core. I haven't even opened it yet. Okay. Okay, this is 5 amp cable. Okay, 2 core, automotive, and this is actually going to take a signal wire to each of the limit switches, and it is also going to supply power. Actually, I haven't decided whether I'm going to use this one or I'll probably use this wire actually to supply the power from here, the power supply, to the driver. Okay, so that's the type of cable I've used. I know a lot of people have asked that question, so that's what I use. Okay, so I've peeled the outer covering off this piece of cable, and I'm just going to reveal the cable inside. Now I have these are again automotive. They're crimpers. They used to crimp electrical ends on cable, but they're also strippers, which are very handy. Just choose the right size stripper, which is that one. So you just go back just over 1/4 of an inch, something like that, and it peels the outer sort of plastic off. And I just twine these together like that. Now what I'm doing is my personal preference, and I'll show you what tinning is in a minute. This is what's commonly known as tinning the wires. So you get your soldering iron and you can probably hear the wind blowing quite hard out there, and you can hear something whirring in here. Well, I've turned the air conditioner on because it's a bit warm. Okay, so what you do, you get a little bit of solder on the end of the soldering iron, and you put it onto the wire like this, and you just melt it into the wire like that. Okay, so what you're doing actually is making multiple strands, as it were, into one solid strand. strand, because this is going to go on into an electrical clamp in a minute, and I find that this method is better. Okay, so that's tin-in cables.